Thanks for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo with Metaphysical Empowerment Events. So we're doing interviews with our readers, healers, and vendors so you can get a sense of who we all are and what we do. So I'm here right now with Cathy, Gasper. So Cathy, tell us a little bit. What is it that you do?
Thank you so much for having me at your metaphysical fairs. I do mini ear reflexology sessions, and they've actually have dubbed me the ear reader, and I picked up that title from your fairs, so it's kind of a compliment. I'm like, oh, I guess I am a little ear reader. So what I do is I am able to work off of a map of your body that has been transposed onto your ears. It's very similar to hand and foot reflexology. It just is a different system. So hand and foot reflexology has a map of your body that has been transposed on those areas, but they work with your spine, where the ear is a keyboard that works directly with your brain. So it's a system.
So when you're saying that it's like transposed on, I mean, I think that the way our body works, right, is that map is already there. You're just accessing what that map is.
Yeah, so I like to explain to people that I'm like, you believe in the universe, right? And humans are a smaller version of the universe. Well, we have smaller versions of ourselves all throughout our body. So there's a couple different maps. There's one on top of your scalp. There's a map of your body on the iris of your eyes. And then there's a map of your body on your tongue. It's traditionally used in Chinese medicine for diagnosis. And then there's hands and feet. There's a map of your body on a drop of dried blood. And then the one that I'm trained and use is in your ears. So the cool thing about the map on your ears is that you can use it to diagnose and to treat. And so I'm able to treat on a couple different levels, physical, emotional, and energetic, all through your ears.
So I know I've had a session with you, but maybe could you describe to people a little bit of like, what is a session like? What actually happens?
Right, so I go through and I work several main points to stimulate and send a signal to your brain to assess and repair. And I work a lot of points that trigger a mild detox. So I'm able to help detox. A lot of times we just hold things in our body, and just releasing it, letting it go is such a healing right there. I go through a bunch of the major organs. So I spin different points, with the kidneys, the lung, the liver, the spleen, and try and balance everything. And then I can work a lot of brain points. I check the spine. A lot of people hold pain in their neck and shoulders. I've come across a lot of hip injuries at your metaphysical fairs that I've been able to work on people. So the fun thing is, you can sit down and tell me kind of what your issues are, but then some people kind of want to test it. And when I get going on the ear, I'm like, oh, do you have a problem with this right hip? And like, I didn't even tell you that. And that's kind of their Achilles heel. That's just the issue that they've been dealing with. Mm-hmm. So then I place a bead on it. It's a topical. It's a little sticker that holds the bead on it, and I use onto your ear, and I use titanium beads. So they're hyperallergenic, and then you're able to wear the beads for a week to 2 weeks. So it continues the treatment while you're wearing them. And what I explain to people is, if this is healthy right here, and this is where you're at, you've created kind of like an unhealthy cycle in your system of kind of where we think we're supposed to be. So when I place a bead on your ear, it brings you here closer to being healthy, because it's telling your body to assess, repair. And while you're wearing the bead, it supports your system while you're creating this new healthy habit of, oh, this is healthy. And then when you have it done again, it brings you another step closer and another step closer. So it continues to give you support while you're wearing the beads.
In addition to the beads, there's like a stimulation that you're doing while you're doing this session, right?
Yes, I just go around and check a whole bunch of points. It's just with it's called like a ear poker. It doesn't pierce the skin. It's round, and I just am spinning points. It's stimulating, sedating, or balancing, depending on the point and what your body needs.
Great. And then these are smaller sessions that you do at the different events, right? What does a regular session look like with you?
Right. So it's double the time. It's about 40 minutes, and it's just a little bit more an intense session, and then you get double the amount of beads. So typically I do about 20 beads on each ear. At the mini sessions, I do 20 beads total.
Okay, great. I see. And then it would be a total of like 40 beads when you,
Right.
right. Great, great. So how did you get into this work?
Well, it's kind of funny. About 6 years ago, right before Christmas, I woke up one day with this hurricane in my head, and I didn't know what was going on. I had thought that I had had a stroke, and it took a couple of weeks to get an official diagnosis. But basically, what had happened was I was diagnosed with virus vertigo. So I was attacked by a virus, and it took out my balance system in my right ear. So it's very similar to Bell's palsy, they think, or so you get attacked by this virus, and it can either take out a nerve that the facial nerve that takes care of your face, or your balance nerve, or your hearing nerve. And some people can wake up deaf or without their balance, or they can wake up, with their face goes paralyzed.
Wow.
I woke up without my balance, and there's not a lot that they can do for something like that. Then they basically just say kind of time and exercise. So,
So it's just waiting until your body like fights off the virus.
right. So a lot of things happen to me when you don't have your balance, and I was kind of just really struggling. But exercise is a really good part of recovery because it helps with balance and to retrain your brain. So one day I said, you've got to do this. You've got to get back to the gym. So I said, all right, I'm going to go back to kickboxing because I used to kickbox. But I didn't really know what was going to happen, and it was really hard for me to go into places with bright lights, or even with a lot of patterns, like on the ground or stairs, or just a lot of people moving against me. Like if I'm going one direction, people are coming another direction. It was just really confusing for my brain to figure out what was going on. So I got to the gym, and I went upstairs to the kickboxing room, and I was kind of like, I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm like, am I going to fall into the wall? Am I going to fall into the ground? Am I going to fall into the person? And I could really barely walk. I really walked like a toddler at the time. If you've ever seen a toddler walk, that's kind of how I was. And if you can watch them go around the corner, they're kind of like, whoa, and then they fall on their little butts. That was me. Corners were super hard for me to go around. So I got into the kickboxing, and then the music started. I'm like, here we go. I put my hands up, and the music started. I just went boom, and I hit the first move. So if you've ever kickboxed, there's a lot to do with the movements. Like, it's not just putting your arm up. There's like a whole body, a hip turn, you got to bend and then pop up on your toe, and your arm goes all at the same time. And I was like, whoa, when I did it, I couldn't believe that my body even made that movement. And then I kept going, and I hit every move. I did the warm up, and I didn't feel the vertigo when I was moving. And then when it stopped, I was like, whoa, okay, enough. We did this little test. So I walked out of there, and I was just bawling. But I was like, in my brain somewhere, there's a memory of me before I was sick. And so I left, and I'm like, there's cells that remember me. And I'm like, those are the cells that I want to work with. So I kept going. And when I stumbled on to ear reflexology, what happens is when you have an injury, we're so smart, and memory passes on so easily. When a cell has been injured and it dies off, when the new cell comes to replace it, that memory of injury is passed on to the new cell. So that's why, say you had a knee injury, and years later, whenever it rains, or you sit in a movie theater long, you stand up and you have an ache in that same knee, because even though your knee has been healing, it's still passing on the memory of injury to those new cells. That's why the ache still lingers. So what ear reflexology does is it goes in and erases the memory of trauma at a cellular level. So when that cell dies off and the new cell comes in to replace it, it doesn't pass on the memory of trauma. So I just stumbled onto something, and my soul knew, like when I heard of it, I'm like, oh, I have to do that. And then when I started doing it for myself and receiving benefits of it, I thought, oh, I have some family members that have some things going on, or some friends, maybe I could help them. So I started learning how to do it, and I just had a knack for it. I thought, oh, I'm never going to work on people. And then I would see somebody in a grocery store, with their shoulder, and I would be like touching them on their ear and massaging them and trying to give them tips to what to do. And then I just started getting referrals from my friends and family members, because I was helping people that had long chronic pain that weren't able to get relief for it. I have a family member that was a checker at Safeway, and her checking arm, chronic pain in her shoulder. And it literally, I was practicing on her when I first started, but 3 sessions later, she said deep 3 pops she had, and then her shoulder was better. And there was nothing that a chiropractor was ever able to help her with. So it just got into the root of the problem and resolved it.
So you kind of couldn't help but become a practitioner. It's clearly what was in store for you.
Yeah, I remember I was sitting there at church. I had driven to church one day, and I was thinking, why did this happen? Why so long? And I had 2 answers. One was to build my compassion. The other was to build my faith. And I'm like, what's the third one? There's another answer here. And I got to church, and there was a gentleman, his family, they were missionaries, but they had been gone for 9 years. And they were back visiting, just kind of trying to figure out if they were going to stay. And he looked at me from across, and he started pointing. He's like, you're a doctor, right? Like, no, I'm not a doctor. I just have a heart for health and healing. And I was like, that's it. I'm just supposed to do this. I'm just supposed to really help people. So I kept going, and then I expanded into some energy healing. So I got into Reiki. I'm actually a Reiki master, and I also got into pranic healing, and I really resonate with pranic healing. So I've taken a lot of advanced courses with them, psychotherapy, with the ear reflexology and the training that I have. I've also done a lot of trauma work with people that I'm able to help use protocol with their ears that releases trauma and phobias. I love helping people with phobias. And then I'm also trained in a protocol that specifically targets the TMJ muscle with energy work.
Wow, it's great. I appreciate all the different things that you mix together.
Thank you.
It's great. Well, thanks so much for letting us interview you. And for everyone watching, we look forward to seeing you at our Metaphysical Empowerment events. So you can find us on the web there at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. Thanks again, Cathy.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.